So let's talk about the full tunnel. We already realized what is a split tunnel. We can have our own interface or IPs and connecting to the other side of the tunnel. But the full tunnel is a different story. So before starting the test, I should notice that I changed the SOX proxy to HY2 stereo 2 proxy because I realized the tunnel is not that much reliable when I'm requesting DNS over the tunnel. Stereo is much more reliable connection in terms of persistency and consistency of the connection. So the servers that I'm using stereo 2 as a proxy server, and also the client side I have configured stereo 2 as well other than the SOX proxy. So you can read the documentation for how to configure stereo. It's super simple and easy. Sandbox run c ton interface HA2. Before that, showing that we have nothing on the ton interface that we have here, no auto direct, so it's still a split tunnel. So just testing that. IP, nothing goes to the tunnel. But if I request to 2080, it goes to the tunnel. So let's make it full. For making it full, we have basically three solutions. The first one is here, defining the auto route true, or not or and strict route true. But before doing so, I'm going to test that it is possible also to do with ton2 socks. We already did in sandbox proxy overview ton2 socks. Also, we can use IP route as a quick test. Also, a test the IP route that is much more simpler and easier, but sandbox uses a different strategy, and also we see why is that. So running this, still we have a kind of split tunnel, not a full tunnel, but let's do IP route. We have to exclude our route to the server, so proxy my domain name, actually a short query. So IP route here first is my roles, and IP route add table exclude. I want to exclude this IP using my default route, and div is the default interface that I have. Also IP route add table end, which is before main. This table is empty, so if I add the default route here, request going to this one and not they do not reach to this main one. And default div ton 0. Why ton 0? Because the sandbox interface is ton 0, so just ton 0. Now we have four routes, so excluding ourselves and then having the default for ton 0. You can see already if I request, it goes to the tunnel. So this is the IP of the tunnel. If I even query IP, that's me, it goes to the tunnel. So a short query goes to the tunnel. So this is a one way to make a full tunnel, but we do not want to do that, and we want to use the sandbox features itself. So let me clear this. IP route flush table end, also exc, and let's configure the sandbox itself. For configuring sandbox itself to have a full tunnel built-in features enabling that, we are going to add auto route true, strict route true, auto redirect false, or we don't use auto redirect because it's by default is false. So we already saw that if we run this and crawl or dig, it doesn't work. Also, we already saw kind of strange behavior with direct, the time interface direct, that if we run that, it goes to a loopback. So let's see that. We have added the true auto route and auto strict route on this direct one, the ton interface direct. So the reason is simple, because sandbox cannot find. Let's go actually to the page, the client one, so the server and client one. it says that we have ton interface, a stack ton stack, or the gvisor ton stack, assembler, and then to the sandbox, and the sandbox router needs auto detect interface. This is the thing that somehow we missing in the configuration. If we go to ton interface itself, searching the auto route, it says to avoid traffic loopback. So what we saw here, what we observed, was a kind of traffic loopback. This is a kind of traffic loopback. To avoid that, in route object here, we should add one of these. So auto detect interface. This means that sandbox to send the traffic or the packet to the interface that we have is going to detect it by sandbox itself. So if I run it now and if I query this time, we have another kind of loopback, and let's go and check the auto routes true, auto structure true. Why do we have the loopback again? Auto detect interface also true. Oh, I'm running, I should run the HY2 one. So the HY2 is going to work. Let me enable the short one. It's going to work. So disable that, like for example making it false. It doesn't work. So another thing the documentation said, default interface. So let's check the default interface. Delete that. Default interface. What is my default interface? This is my default interface. So enp string enp quotation close. Now it should work again because I told sandbox which interface to use for routing traffic to. So again, to that work. Or it says we can also use the outbound bind the interface to that outbound. So I can close that, I can remove this, and then going to the outbound that we have, and we say bind interface, which should be in code. I will fix that, so not this one, but my interface. This is the outbound interface. It also should work as the documentation says. So let's check that. It's going to work, which means we can have different interfaces and different outbounds and binding each outbound to a specific interface. So probably if we have a server on the server side, we can distribute to load to different interfaces. So that's the thing that we should notice. And the most somehow common one is the auto detect interface. This is the most common configuration, which means anytime, I mean the point is that anytime we enable a full tunnel on an interface with our configuration, we should also enable auto detect interface to find the outbound and send the traffic to. So that's the thing. But if we enable the auto redirect one to true, the thing that happens is also interesting. So if we enable that, if we request, it doesn't work. You can see here that the connection tries to go to other side of the tunnel using the other host that we have for the sandbox. So sandbox IP address or the net configuration, actually disable that, enable that. It's 30, which means we have one host here, the other host is other side of the tunnel. It's going to look for 53, which means DNS resolution on this IP address. So kind of private request to the IP, which we don't have any DNS server here. And also we didn't use the DNS module on the client configuration. And if we check NFT list role set, we see the sandbox has added all these configuration for the auto redirect. And for the simplicity of testing, we do not use that, so just disabling that. again, and one more time running it. It's going to work. Curl ip.me. uh, the reason it doesn't work, again, kind of pitfalls where sandbox, you can see that when I request, it goes to IP version 6. Because of that, I have to force curl to use IP version 4 in order to resolve that. So we will talking about more DNS somehow pitfalls and configuration and leaks in DNS module. This was also the part of the module 2, but for DNS we will talking about it in module 3. So this was the test for full tunnel. Thank you for watching. Anywhere you saw the video on any platform, comment or ask question on our Telegram group that we have, which is Ton Tap. Clearing out everything. Let's go to next video.